What's up, YouTube, man? We're back. We've been away a little while, but we had some technical difficulties. Life kind of got in the way a couple of times, but I've been promising this video's coming out, and we are going to get back to reloading. I've got a little housework, a little catching up to do, some kind of call to arms, some alerts I want to put out, just things I feel compelled to talk about, and I know this is probably going to bore some of you, but it's going to be a little bit of a talking video, but I want to get some of this admin stuff out of the way so we can get back to pulling the handle on the old RCBS and making some ammo. Finish up that 223 series, 5.56 if you prefer. Nonetheless, and we're not going to split hairs about that right now. I know 226 or 223, 5.56 caused a lot of controversy, and I'm not looking to do that right now. But let's jump right in by saying first, if you've enjoyed the videos, and a lot of you have, man, we've had a tremendous amount of interest in this channel relative to the size of the channel lately. I want to reach out and say thank you to everybody that's hit the like and subscribe button. And, man, thank you guys so much. That's really a big source of encouragement for me. And for everybody that's watching the videos that hasn't hit the like and subscribe button, we know who you are. We're going to pay you a visit if you don't get busy down there. Hit that like and subscribe button. Obviously, I'm kidding, but it does help out the channel. Somehow it helps the algorithms where YouTube does their thing, and we get a little more publicity. So if you like the show, take care of that for us. I want to say this video is going to kind of primarily cover three things, and that is in this difficult time that we're all still experiencing ammo shortages and whatnot, reloading components are no different. We're going to discuss maybe how we can find some of those individually, maybe as a community. The political movements that are going on, kind of grassroots stuff going around the nation, which has taken up a good bit of my time lately. So I hope you guys will understand and forgive me for the time that I've spent on that and not on these videos. But I'm going to go over a little bit of that because I think it's very relevant. I think it's necessary in this day and age. And then finally, we're going to get to our first Q&A. So there's a Q&A section at this video because I've never had this kind of interest in the channel and some people throwing out some really good questions. And I want to take the time to say thanks for those and to address them. So without beating around the bush anymore, or as some would say, without further ado, let's jump right in. First, how to find primers. And the reason for that question is, a lot of people are saying, man, this is a bad time to get started in the reloading business. Terrible time. You know, you can't find components. And it is a difficult time. I mean, but as the world is changing and we can't, you know, change is inevitable, we're going to have to adapt. Let me throw out a couple places that have proven successful for me. Not only finding components, but ammunition a little bit. So some of these things have dual relevance. So if you were thinking about getting in the reloading game, don't let the shortage of primers and powder discourage you. Just become a little more creative, become a little more resourceful, and maybe you can find something. And here are three primary areas where I've been finding mine. Auctions, not to include Gunbroker. Now, not that I'm a Gunbroker basher, because I'm not. But I will say this, the prices there have become astronomical, and, you know, I think that only feeds, a terrible idea. That computer binged in the background kind of threw me off there a little bit. That feeds a terrible precedent, and we kind of continue into this ever-increasing spiral, which we want to get away from. So, but local auctions, you know, go in there and talk to the auctioneer. Most of those guys are super nice. They want to talk, they want to sell you stuff. So they'll tell you if reloading components, reloading equipment's coming across their desk. I was actually able to pick up a press and a tumbler for under 40 bucks, both of them. The press had never been used. I mean, if it had been used ever, it was nominal, and the tumbler had been used. I mean, it had seen some time shaking brass, but it was still in great shape. So that stuff can still be found. So go in there and see if people are putting that stuff up for auction. People are looking to take advantage of the situation. Humans are opportunistic beings, so maybe you might pay more than we did, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, but I still think you can find some deals relative to what the crazy market's doing right now. So get out there and talk to those auctioneers to see if you can find something. Another thing is friends, and I don't necessarily mean just friends that are reloading, but friends that you drink coffee with, guy you see at the gas station every morning on your way to work. Maybe if you're a ranch hand, some of the guys you hot rod with, you know what I'm saying. Those people that you know socially, just say, hey man, you know anybody that's into reloading? They got any extra equipment? Hey, just be friendly, and you'll be fine. You'll find out that you may bump into somebody that's got some stuff that you need. It happened to me, and that's why I'm using it. Another organization that I had become involved with, we were having some coffee, and the guy says, man, I used to be in a reloading game years ago. I've gotten out. I got some components. Maybe they're still good. Handed me 2,800 primers. 2,800 primers, a whole bunch of 308 bullets, and and ask absolutely nothing but friendship in return. Another guy that's been on the show a few times, or maybe once, I don't remember, just walked up to me and handed me a bottle of bourbon and 1,000 primers. You can't have too many friends like that. Thank you, Scott. And another thing that is really becoming a little bit of an art is store timing. I don't know a better way to reference it than say it that way. But you go back in the ammo section. Hey guys, what time do you guys normally get your ammo shipments in? Locally, I've been seeing stuff come up at Cabela's and at PSA, Palmetto State, if you don't know those guys. Ammo's been coming up. Primers, powder's been coming up. I was very, very fortunate. A guy that I train with a little bit in another organization put out a blast. Hey fellas, I got some powder here on the shelf. Anybody use any? And I was able to score a pound of powder that I never tried out before, but I've got a lot of confidence in it's going to turn out real good. So reach out to those 3 areas. I'll hit them again real fast. Hit those local auctions where people are bringing over stuff, they may be finding a storage bin, they got out of grandpa's attic. Talk to your friends. Hey, anybody ever reloaded? You might stumble on something. I was fortunate. Store timing is critical though, man. That's a big one. Stuff's starting to become a little bit more available as maybe production's catching up and the market's softening a little bit. But hit those 3 areas, see what you can find, and man, I'd love to hear some success stories down there in those comment sections that we've been getting finally getting some feedback from. So let me know how it's working out for you guys. Now, I'm not going to try to keep this video going any longer than is necessary, but as somebody pointed out in one of the comments, man, I maybe gotten 3 bad comments in the year I've been doing this or whatever. And I say bad, it wasn't terrible. The guy's like, hey dude, get on with it, stop talking so much. And I'm like, cuz man, talking is what I do, man. That's my thing. So that's going to be a little bit difficult for me to stop talking. But the political movements that are going on, man, they are the lifeblood of what's going on. President Trump, no matter what you think of the election, and I know most people on this channel will have a very similar opinion of what happened that I have. But if we don't get involved in the political situation, the political situation is going to get involved in us. And I've had to go to my children and say, hey folks, look here. I've been sitting on my laurels all these years. I thought I did my 5 years active duty, and I go to the polls every 2 years and pull the handle for R. And I thought that was my civic duty, and that's clearly not working. We got to get involved in those state and local levels. If your senators and your House of Representatives members that we send off to D.C. are remotely anything like mine, they will roundly ignore you. You can get a little bit of traction maybe with your House of Representatives member if you bash their phone lines enough. If you stop by their office, senators are even less approachable. We've got one of the biggest problem rhinos in America with Lindsey Graham. He says he's a Republican, acts like a Democrat or worse. So we got to change stuff at the grassroots level. In the mayoral campaigns, running for sheriff, man. Sheriff is so important. Get out there and interview those guys, man. And when I say interview them, they will talk to you. These guys are just regular folks. They live in your community. Find an organization that has these guys come in and talk. Find out what they're about. Don't let them just take the R vote just because everybody says they're good guys. Man, go find out what they stand for. And get those rhinos out, man. I'm not even going to talk about Democrats. Just get those rhinos out. Get back to the constitutional supporting people at the state and the local levels. Your state House of Representatives member, your state senators, man. Those guys, they don't make enough in the political game that they're, independently wealthy. They still live in your community. Get in front of them. Find out when they're having a town hall. Go talk to them. They're human beings, and most of them, at least in my area, pretty engaging guys. I mean, we got a few kind of, down toward the big city. They get a little bit, they're kind of jerks, but, the guy that represents us at the state level here, both our senator and our House Representatives member, they will call you back on the phone. There are people in their office will pick up the phone, and they will talk to you about legislation. So we got to get involved in those movements. And if we don't, then the things that are going to happen to us are only going to get worse. If you don't have a civic group, somebody that has our constitutional, the rights that have been enunciated in our Constitution, they're given to us from on high. They're given to us by God Almighty. They're not given to them by the Constitution. The Constitution just enunciates them. So if you don't have a group, a civic-minded group like that, hell, form one. Go be the hero that you've always wanted. Let the guy or gal in the mirror represent those folks around you. Become that leader that we all need. So get involved somehow so that you can influence those state and local elections. Locally, if you'll hit me up, if you live close by, man, I'll help you through the little bit that I can. I've joined several groups, two largely civic, one a little bit different, but some of them have political aspirations. Some have more, how can we help each other at the local level kind of overtones. But find those groups of like-minded patriots, people that are willing to stand in the gap, who are willing to defend the Constitution and support each other. Find those groups, man, and I can't tell you enough how important that's going to be for us to stand together in the coming months and years. And I'll wrap this up. I've actually taken notes. That's how important I think this stuff is. Y'all know most of the time I'm just on here just talking, but this is actually important. So I will say you cannot write and call your House of Representatives and Senators enough. Whether it be the federal folks, the guys we sending off to D.C. to misrepresent us, or your state guys, but call them. I mean, call them as often as you can. Look at the legislation that these guys say they're supporting. Find out what's really happening. Most of the time there's a lot of shenanigans going on. A lot of people moving behind the curtain. Find out what's going on. Hold these cats' feet to the fire, man. I'm telling you, we're going to have to dig down. We're going to have to get tougher than woodpecker lips if we're going to make this thing work. Because the folks in Washington, I'm just going to say it, they don't give a damn about you, me, or the Constitution. And we're going to have to make the politicians recognize that we are the authority and not them. Now I'm gonna try to cut this thing off as little bit as short as I can, but there have been a couple of questions that I thought were really good questions. I tried to go back and hit everybody I could with a written thank you or a written explanation to their question, but three of them kind of stood out, and I'm gonna touch on them. A new guy that just joined us not too long ago has been super interactive is a cat named AR Gun 1776. That's a hell of a name right there, boy. So I really like that. But he asked me, he was watching one of my videos and was paying obviously very close attention. And I had another person ask me the same or similar question. And he asked me about the lock ring on my die, and the lock ring was not screwed down tight. And he asked me, is that something that, cameras playing tricks on them, or what happened? And frankly, I don't always lock that down. And there's a simple explanation why. I measure everything. I measure every powder charge. I measure every bullet seating. I measure everything. And I measure it every time. I'm not trying to turn out hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of loads as fast as possible. I try to be as precise as I can. And although what I'm doing is not strictly proper or correct, I monitor each round. So if that die does back out by virtue of that lock ring not being tightened down, I'll catch it. And I do that so that I can make faster changes. I have a single stage die, or a single stage press. It takes a little longer. So the more iterations you have to go through, tightening that thing up, untightening it, just takes longer. So I choose not to. I don't encourage that. Do it the way the manufacturer says. I'm telling you why I do it. I'm a rank amateur at this. So if my explanation doesn't seem legitimate to you, I encourage you to do it the way that the manufacturer says. In fact, I even keep their the how-to manual up on my wall so I can reference it too. But the things that I don't do that are strictly in line, those are my choosing. I don't encourage you to do it that way. But that's why, because I like to make faster changes between whether I'm reloading 9 or 5.56 or 308. I just choose to do it that way. A new guy that's also been pretty interactive is a cat named Louis M. Louis, thanks for joining the show. He asked me about 2, 3, or 4 die sets with individual 2 or 3 or 4 die components. And he asked me, is that necessary? No, Louis, it's not. As you probably have already guessed, it's not necessary. You can make some finer adjustments with the more with more components, more individual die sets in the die set. But if you have a 2-component rifle die, you can make very fine ammunition just with that. You generally have a 3-die component or 3-component die set for pistol rounds, but that's just because you have to flare the neck a little bit to get the bullet to seat properly, which you don't really have to do so much with the rifle dice. But 2, 3, or 4, if you've got the extra money and you really are into driving that precision, buy the best you can. That's kind of the philosophy that I have with anything. And the last question, I want to reach out and say thanks to a cat named John Doe. I'm guessing that's probably not his real name, but hell, you don't ever know, I guess. John Doe asked me about loading 9mm over top of Winchester 244, and I have never done that. I don't have any information. I reached out to a couple of fellows that I respect, guys that reloaded a ton more than I have, and said, hey, have you ever done this? They said no. Even in his question, he said it was a relatively new powder. He hadn't found very much load data on it. I can't help you. I've never used it. I would be terribly interested in what you find, John. So if you load that, you want to drop your recipe down in the comments, man, we'd all love to hear about it, because in these changing times, we're definitely going to have to find alternatives maybe to some of our pet powders. I did that today or yesterday when I bought that pound. I'd never used it before, but manufacturer says it'll run 7.62 by 51 just fine, so we're going to find out. With that, we're going to wrap up the show but I do have one more comment on my way out, and that is this. There's a lot of new shooters in the game, and a lot of these people have joined for very honorable reasons. Some want to defend themselves. Some want to be citizen soldiers. They want to stand in the gap against any potential tyranny And as shooters have been around the game for a while, I hope that all of you would, if you meet somebody like that, you'd take a moment, you'd help them, you'd help train them if they have none. At least show them the safety requirements, how not to hurt themselves. And I had an opportunity to help out somebody the other day with some ammunition. I didn't give it to them. They paid a fair price and they were happy to do it, but I know most of you guys probably feel the same way I do, and that is I'm not going to let good people go unarmed if they're willing to defend themselves. So I tell you what, I really appreciate you guys sticking around through these kind of tough times for me. I think we got life back on track, and if you guys will stick around, we'll see you on the next one.